Hey there, how you doing? Charlie Winters here with horse racing and football selections for Saturday, the 26th of April, which is today. So let me get straight into it. It's a bit of a late video. It's 8:24 as I do it. I'm starting at the top of my selections. I'm working my way down. I shall try and explain a little bit, but there's been quite a few selections today. If you follow me in, it's completely because you believe completely what I've said and you agree and you can comfortably afford the bet. If you just pick and mix, that's fine. Well, obviously, it makes no odds to me, but do not follow me in blindly. Only back the horses if you believe they've got a chance. So the first bet, as I can see, is there are two £1 each way singles and a £2 each way double. Right. There's themes behind these today rather than just raw form. I'm not particularly a fan, and I didn't realise I wasn't a particular fan up until I realised that there's an awful lot of horses that Nico de Bourneville has ridden where they haven't been given the best of rides. I'm not, well, to be fair, I am jumping on a bit of a bandwagon because he's injured now, and I think it's a perfect opportunity to possibly replace him. Obviously, you're going to replace him when he's injured because he's at home in a bed or with his feet up. What was it, broken ribs, or did he get trampled over? I don't know. Don't wish him any harm. It's just a shame, but it's an opportunity for another jockey, and this other jockey, I think, will be James Bowen. I think he's a decent jockey. Obviously, his brother's a decent jockey, and which means absolutely nothing. But so let me get into the horses. So these are the two horses. So you can't see the each way singles. I don't know why it hasn't shown you the each way singles. So what I've had is I think he's only got two mounts today, James Bowen, and these are the two. They're not particularly each way ones, but I don't like backing to win. I know it's probably the quickest way to the poorhouse, but it's Lucky Place in the 3 o'clock at Sandown and Keentzyme in the 120 at Sandown, 5 places instead of three. So I think Keentzyme is about 7-2, 100-30, and Lucky Place is currently 5-2. I've had I've had £1 each way single on both of those horses, and as you can see, a £2 each way double, and that is it. Not looked at the form. I've gone for the James Bowen angle of Nico de Bourneville. Of what I'm going for is ITV Racing saying what an opportunity this is for James Bowen, and he seized it with both hands. I try and imagine the news the following day or after the race. So that's what I've gone for. He will be looking to make a name for himself, and isn't Constitutional Hill supposed to be out soon? Is it Punchestown, Leopardstown? As you know, I don't follow the Irish racing too much, but there's another chance there for another jockey to take the ride and make a name for themselves. So anyway, whether I fancy Constitution Hill is another thing or not. I tend to, since it had the injury. I always think that horses, whether they're coming back from injury, never quite get to the same level. And I always think that whenever they have operations, it takes time for them to get over them. And I'm talking gelding operation, wind operation. Hence I don't normally back them first time after a wind or gelding operation. And I think it probably, to be fair, I'll be interested to see if the profit and loss from backing them, because obviously I think they're probably now overpriced when they make the reappearance after wind operations or gelding. So maybe financially, it might be a good thing to back because you're probably getting inflated odds. But I'm talking rubbish now. So anyway, let's get into it. So I've gone for, it's actually two bets, but I've put one of the bets on twice, as you're well aware. What I normally do is, because of the time of the day, I don't get best odds till 9 o'clock with Sky Bet, but I back with Sky Bet because I like the extra place races. It's 8:30 as I'm recording. Well, 8:29. I don't know if you can. I'm guessing you can see me time. I don't know. So I've gone for a 10 pence each way lucky 63. Then I think I've gone for two 10 pence each way lucky 31s. One of them taking the prices and one of them without the prices. What the each way lucky 31 is where I've scouted round for big prices. And I tell you what, I really like the look of them. The problem is, we need a few of them to run well because I haven't backed them in singles. So as you're well aware, 10 pence each way, lucky 31 will only give you 10 pence each way single on it as part of that bet. It's a point of where do you actually stop putting money on. So I'll explain more when I get to it. So 10 pence each way, lucky 63. So these are generally smaller priced horses that I think have got chances, but I don't fancy them any more than the bigger price horses in the other bet, I'll be honest. So the first selection is Nardaran. I'm not going to keep saying I've left the price because I must know people by now. In the 120 at Sandown, 5 places instead of 3. Gradually improved with each run over hurdles. I actually thought it was stepping up in distance, but it wasn't. But I knew that before I placed the bet. I think it's a horse on the up. I think it's got a chance. It's about, I think it's 17-2. Do I think it'll win? Who knows? Do I think it could come place? Yes, it could. And I think it has got a chance of winning. But it is a competitive race, and I do like the look of it. I do believe he's got another one in the race, Poor Nichols, a more fancied horse. But I'm more than happy with this. It's ridden by Sean Bowen. So I haven't been following recently, and I'm guessing Sean Bowen is ahead in the Jockey Championship, I think. I don't follow that kind of thing. All I've heard recently when I've been watching the racing is Sean Bowen at Perth having some good mounts for Ollie Murphy and having plenty of winners. I don't know if it's clear by loads or if it's neck and neck. I don't know. But it's ridden by Sean Bowen, the man they keep talking about at the moment, and I think it's got a good chance. The second selection is one I should have really put in the outsider bet, but I can't ignore it because it's a trainer that has really made his name under both codes recently, and his name is James Owen, the trainer. He's absolutely flying. So it could potentially be a competitive race. It's a maiden at Leicester, so it's Kalinski in a 235 at Leicester. It's currently 28-1. The horse was well beaten by one of the runners today. I think it's called, is it called Asmindon Lady or something like that? I think it's a Jamie Insole horse or a Richard Newland horse that comfortably beat it last time. But this horse, it was reluctant to load, held up, it made headway, still beaten quite a bit by the horse that comes second in that race that day, which is also in the race today. There's some big stables with horses in it, but I find it very interesting the fact that the William Buick mount achieved a Racing Post rating of 70 on the all-weather. I don't think this is going to win a Derby or a Guineas or anything like that. In fact, I haven't checked the age of it, so let's just say I don't think it's a superstar. Yeah, forget the Guineas or Derby because obviously I think it's a 3-year-old already, and obviously it's at Leicester. I don't think it's ultimately going to be a superstar. I don't think it's one of the bigger the bigger stars of the stable. And they've also got another one in the race. They may well be okay, but I just think that they are those prices because they are from big stables. Richard Haddon's got one in about 10-1. If that was a decent horse, I don't think it'd be 10-1. I think Harry Charlton's got one in, never ran before. Probably going to be a nice horse because it's never ran before. I think it's owned by Khalid Abdullah. But these horses aren't always superstars. So I've gone for Kalinski because the trainer's on fire. Is it good enough currently? No. It did a Racing Post rating of 51. It's got plenty to find. But if it's booked its ideas up or grown up a bit from the first race or learnt a bit, then I think it's got a bit of a sneak. It's got to come in the first 3. I was hoping this could be a 4 places instead of 3, but it was always unlikely because they don't tend to do these kind of races because they leave themselves wide open. Sky Bet would. So it's unlikely it's going to come place, but I wouldn't put it past a trainer to do well. The fact that there's only sent one there, I find it interesting. Yeah. Third selection is Ramazan, and this is probably one of the more obvious horses in the race. So it's Ramazan in the 240 at Haydock, 4 places instead of 3. Comes into this race fit. I do believe a horse called Ross Collin is also in this race. Let me just double check because I don't want to keep saying I do believe. So I've gone for Ramazan. It's race fit. So there you go. Ross Collin, 20-1, back from 28s. I can give that one a chance. The reason why I'm not backing Ross Collin is because I don't think the ground's slow enough. Ross Collin has basically got the similar profile as what it had last year when it came fourth in the race last year. I just don't think the ground's slow enough. It's good ground. I've looked through Ross Collins' form and it's all soft to heavy. So I've gone for Ramazan. It's Richard Fahey. Richard Fahey generally doesn't have horses that are completely wound up on the first run. I always think that Richard Fahey will use racers to get his horses fit when he's targeting races. So this horse had a run last time. It's got Joanna Mason on board, but which I used to avoid her at all costs. But then I watched her and I thought, hey, she's not doing bad actually. And then I think she's one of the best jockeys, if I'm being honest. And I don't know if anybody really agrees with that. But so I've gone for Ramazan. It's about 8. I think this one's about 17-2 actually. So Ramazan, I've left the price in the 240 at Haydock, paying 4 places instead of 3. So the next horse, I really like the look of this one. It's ridden by a trainer that I always keep an eye on when he sends his horses north, because he trains in Devon, I do believe, and it's Rod Millman. So the horse is called Safari Dream. Safari Dream in the 250 at Haydock, paying 5 places instead of 4. It's a fair distance that this horse has travelled. I actually think it's about 17-2 again. It's in the 350 at Haydock. It's called Safari Dream, 5 places instead of 4. It's ridden by one of my favourite jockeys as well, is George Wood. So it's hard to go off this horse. There are certain things where, in fact, just give me a second, because this is one of my more fancied horses. So, in fact, you can see every single screen I click on, so I need to be careful. Normally, I just show you so many screens. 350 Haydock. So it's 6 furlong, Haydock, class 5, good ground. So let's have a scroll down. I did like the look of Bear Rock a bit. Couldn't back Belcito. Doesn't mean it can't win, but it's had a win operation. I think it had one quite a while ago. The Michael Dodds, as you can see, Roy and Ralph, I do think that's got a chance. But Safari Dream. So it's 6 furlong today. It prefers the flat. Don't go wrong. If it had more runs on the all-weather, maybe it might be equal. Maybe it might improve. But so far, there's a difference between the Racing Post ratings of 88 and 74, which it's achieved more on the flat. Let's keep it simple. So let's go back to 4th of March, it made its reappearance. Not beaten far. In touch with leaders. Outpaced. Ran on again over 7 furlongs. Ran okay. Ran even better at Chelmsford. I honestly think, even though it ran on again at Southwell, I don't think it wants 7 furlongs. So then, most recently, 2nd of April is Prominent, kept on, just held second, no match for winner. So this horse comes into this race fit. I don't think it wants 7 furlongs. So let's go back to when it was running okay on the turf. So it's good ground. So you've got Bath heavy. I'm going to ignore that. So on that day, it had got a racing. No, it hadn't. It had got an official rating of 66. Today, it's off 62. So let's go back to its last okay run. So I'd say generally, that was probably its last run in September. It was on good ground, off of 67. So it ran a decent race. It was 13-8 in a Class 5 race. Don't get me wrong, not many runners. Off 67, and it ran above itself for a Racing Post rating of 71. In my opinion, if you look after that, because I don't think this horse wants bad ground. I think it just about handles it, but doesn't want it. So after that run, I'm thinking they're already thinking of next season or next turf season. So Bath, it ran on heavy ground, well beaten, and it was off. So since its good run, last good run was off 67. So I'm thinking they're preparing its handicap mark for the following season. So all of a sudden, it's gone from running well on the turf to now a good opening mark on the turf again of 62. So it was competitive off a higher mark. So if you look further down, I'm going to scroll down. So the beginning of the season last season, so it was off 78. So it's £16 lower than when it was running, because it even ran it to nearly run to that mark there. It ran official rating 78 and ran to 74. So it just about ran to the mark. And then it disappointed the time after on good to soft ground. Ran above itself, but it was expected to because it was 11-4 in a race at Windsor, good to soft. Then it was on heavy at Salisbury, ran off 74 to 79. So is this a spring horse? Yeah, because it came out in March, then it ran through heading towards the summer. Don't get me wrong, it only generally came placed at best. It didn't win a race, but it's not the end of the world. And then as you get July, maybe that race was too competitive. I don't know, 6-1, and then ran at Nottingham. Rod Millman tends to do quite well at Nottingham, so it wasn't beaten far at 14-1. Then you've got Leicester's soft ground. So I think it's gradually tailing off, and then it ran at Bath, and then it ran at Kempton, and I think by that time it had enough. And now it's reappearing again. It's probably not the most obvious. It's probably not the most obvious horse waiting to win, but what prize money is it? Still not fantastic. It's only £4.5 grand. I know nobody'd turn it down, but when you're paying, yeah, if you've got a very well handicapped horse, you'd be looking for bigger prize money. But I'm talking about lots of horses and lots of stables in that race, looking at that angle. But I do believe that this horse is what it is. I don't believe that it is. It's had 3 recent runs. I believe it's got a decent handicap mark. I do like the jockey, and I always watch the trainer when he travels this far. So I can't knock Safari Dream in the 350 at Haydock. 5 places instead of 4. Don't get me wrong, it's a competitive race. So the next selection, well, this were 40-1, because I was looking at this the other day. Olympic Man in the 410 at Sandown in the Gold Cup. Used to be called the Betfred Gold Cup. Don't know what it's called now. Is it called the Tote Gold Cup? Anyway, doesn't matter, apart from the sponsors. Paying 6 places instead of 4. So this horse ran in the Scottish Grand National. It led for a long way. It was actually the favourite, and I think it's a bit crafty, really, because I think it was gradually on the improve. These are the same colours as Galopin des Champs, the brown and yellow. Very, very powerful owner. I can't remember what her name is. I think her surname's Turley, I think. I think this horse, and I'm not too familiar with the Sandown course, but isn't Sandown the one with the railway fences where you have to be organised to jump them, and then if you are, you can actually gain like a bit of momentum or some ground or not lose ground, depending how you jump them. So I think this horse has got a chance. It's known for making mistakes. That's the problem. But I do believe it's got an engine. Maybe it didn't stay the 4 mile. I think it's 1 in the Ayr Scottish Grand National. But this is, what's this? 3? Is it 3.6, 3.4? I think at the price, it's currently 16s. Earlier on during the week, when I was unsure whether it was actually going to run, it was actually 40s because I was looking at this race, and I found it quite interesting because just trying to remember who's on it. Jonathan Burke, because for me, right, I know William Mullins had lots of runners and lots of big success. For me, it's like he's giving each individual jockey their moment of fame. It's like, was it Harry Cobden in the Ayr one? Patrick Mullins in the English Grand National. Obviously, there's been plenty of Grade 1s. So is it time to say thanks to Jonathan Burke? I don't know. Maybe I'm being conspiratorial again, but it makes it interesting anyway, doesn't it? So, yeah, Olympic Man. I think it's got a sneak, and 6 places. I'm expecting it not to be too far from the pace. Do I want it to lead? Only if it gets an easy lead. I would love it to get an easy lead, and then let's see what happens. But I like the angle of the very powerful owner, the Galopin des Champs. in the news after, they can say, "Oh, you was unfortunate not to have another Gold Cup, but does this compensate for it winning the Sandown Gold Cup?" And I'm sure they'll say, "I'm honoured to win it." And so I don't know. I'm just trying to look at the news after the race. I just think because it doesn't always win it with his most fancied horses. I can't remember what the price was the other day of the air one, but they're not always. Although I tell you what it was, I think it was about 16s, but it was backed into a much shorter price. I can tell you that for definite. But anyway, and that was just before the race. And finally, in this bet, the selection is. Just give me 1 second. Right. Yeah. The selection is Miyakoda. I've left the price in the 5.15 at Doncaster, 4 places instead of 3. This one's brief. It's James Owen, it's Mason Patel, it's second favourite, and I think it's got a chance. That's basically it for that horse. Take a look at all those for yourself. Let's move on to the next bet. So this is the each way single for the James Bowen. So let's get on to the 10 pence each way, lucky 31. So I'm not going to go into these individually. I'm pretty much going to read them out. So it's a 10 pence each way, lucky 31, leaving the prices, and I've placed exactly the same bet, 10 pence each way, lucky 31, taking the prices. So these horses are where I think there are vulnerabilities at the head of the market, not for the favourites so much, maybe more for some of the placed horses, or for the more fancied horses, but not always the favourite. Like second favourite, third favourite, do I think they can come unplaced? Can I sneak something in? And that's what I've gone for with these. I do like the look of them. This is the more interesting bet. Doesn't mean anything regarding their actual chances. Just give me a second. I'm just looking out the window. Right. Elemental Eye. In the 2 o'clock at Haydock, 4 places instead of 3. I think this horse is very interesting. It's Ian Jardine. Well, he's had some winners recently. I think the stable's doing okay. And I always remember when he took a horse to Newmarket, or 2 horses to Newmarket, and he walked away with either a double or definitely a decent price winner. I'm not talking in the last couple of years, but it wasn't that long ago. And he says, I always remember him saying something like a 20 to 1. It says, we've been aiming for this race for a while. Never a 20 to 1 shot, and he went there expecting it to win. So I think this horse has got a cracking chance. It's the second outsider in the race. In fact, instead of me showing you this one, I'll show you the one with the prices. There you go. 14 to 1. I think it'll be bigger than that. The second selection is Classic Getaway at 22 to 1 in the 2.25 at Sandown. And that's the Oaksy Chase. I believe this horse has got a right chance. It's Willie Mullins, and I know it's Charlie Winter's horse racing tips, and I'm supposed to be an expert, but I don't know everything. I'll make it clear. I'm guessing the title for is it the English Trainer is between Dan Skelton and Willie Mullins, and I've heard a few things. If I'm wrong, tell me in comments, or if I'm right, tell me in comments. And they both got loads of runners. Well, Willie Mullins, and I heard Fat Cat Callum, I only caught a little bit of his video, mentioned about so many runners in the races. Well, I looked at the other race, hold on, I'm going to sneeze in a minute. I looked at the Betfred, I'm going to call it the Betfred Gold Cup, the Sandown Gold Cup, the Whitbread. And Willie Mullins, it was embarrassing how many runners he'd got. I think he'd got 2/3 of the field. And at that point, it were about 40 runners. So Classic Getaway, there's some runners in this field, but I believe if it's a decent pace, this horse could mop up at a minimum some place prize money. After you've looked past the favourite, I think it's much of a muchness for second and third. I honestly do. And I think if they get racing too far out, this horse could be in the wing mirrors. So I think it's got a chance. 22 to 1 is too big a price. Good old Olympic man again. 16 to 1 in the 10 past 4 at Sandown. You know all about this one. Yeah. Right, I like the look of this one. It's Summer Rain at 22 to 1. In the 425 at Haydock, 4 places instead of 3. And I never quite know what the first name of this trainer is. It's J.S. Moore, but they call him Stan Moore, I think. Or a relative used to be called Stan Moore. Look, J.S. Moore. I don't know. I think this horse should not be 22 to 1. I think it's got a right chance. Take a look for yourselves. I think it's been given a quiet. In fact, this is one of the more interesting horses. So I'm going to show you what I like about this one. So just give me a second. So I'll be honest, right? I'm going to have a quick flick up now. So what I would say is Ramazan, Safari Dream, Classic Getaway, and Summer Rain are the ones I'm most excited about. Doesn't mean they will come placed and the others won't, or it might mean the opposite. But I like the look of Summer Rain, and I'm going to show you why now. So 425 at Haydock, you've got an odds-on chance, and then it's obviously ballooned the prices after that. Well, they'll say 4 places instead of 3. So there are horses with chances. But let me get down to. So I am a fan of PJ McDonald, even though I'm not saying again. My horse last week a bad ride. Was it Tutor Salamanca, whatever it was called? Came there absolutely flying, but couldn't get a run. So it says 30 to 1 there. So that's interesting. So these are perfect for me. This is absolutely perfect. This race, right? Just check what ground is. I think it's good. Yeah, 425 at Haydock. It's good ground. So it's never ran on good ground, so who knows? But its first run was on soft ground. I don't know if what ground this horse wants. By our dad, I would say probably yes, it would want slightly slower ground. Not quite why it's called Summer Rain. Maybe it's based on the horse's breeding. It wants soft ground. It wants Summer Rain. I don't know. I just made it. Maybe Summer Rain's a song, but I don't listen to music. But anyway, Newbury 6 furlong 7 on soft on its debut. Comfortably beaten, but look at the price. It was 150 to 1. Ran to a mark of 43 on the Racing Post rating. Next time, big improvement. Its best ever run. Racing Post rating of 60. That is above the mark it's off on its handicap mark today. If it runs to that, it gives it a bit of a sniff of a place. I'm not saying that race was anything equal to the race today. I'm just saying that it says that it can run above its handicap mark. The next run, it once again runs above its handicap mark. 5 furlongs on standard at Wolverhampton. Can't knock it. Then up to 7 furlongs. I don't know why. Are they preparing to get its handicap mark ready for the following season? So after that run, it was dropped £3 and it was also gelded. So then in February, it reappeared. So I always expect it to have a day at the races after an operation, as in it's 5 to 1, which is quite interesting. So automatically, was it fancied that day? Or the bookies just scared? So in previous 4 races, 150s, 22s, 20s, 33s, still done nothing, flopped on its last run, gelded, and all of a sudden it's 5 to 1, probably something like second favourite. But it didn't run very well, but I would never have backed it anyway. I'd have kept an eye on it because I'd have thinking like, oh, is this horse very well handicapped? So then, February, March, just over a month later, it then ran at Wolverhampton again over 6 furlongs. I looked at the first 2 in this race because it said no match for first 2 also, or couldn't get on terms with first 2. The first 2 looked quite progressive. So I don't know if you can see this when I hover over. So basically the first 2 runs back, took keen hold, held up towards rear, no impression. This time around, David Egan rode towards rear, headway. So this time it was able to make some ground up from the rear, went third, no match for first 2. So from a 34 to 55, that's a big improvement. If it makes the same again, if it could touch a 60-something, a late 60s or 70, then its mark of 56, and it runs to a mark of low 70s in the Racing Post ratings, it's got a unbelievable place chance. That's how I sometimes look at things, because I'm looking at the gradual progression. Maybe all it needed was just being gelded, and now it's just finding its feet. But what 22-1 did I say, or 30-1 currently on best odds? I think that this horse is better than we've seen. So the more fancied horses so far, this would probably going to end up winning with its head in its chest. H11, you'd expect so. Not run for 70 days, Lord Capulet. Not run for 161 days, Vault of Heaven. Kevin Frost aren't particularly renowned for having first timers. Gesundheit or something. Gesundheit. Put it in comments. I had to say it. Noel Wilson, never heard of him. 194 days off. Jeannie May, Nigel Tinkler, 17 days. Potential, 18-1. Wouldn't put anybody off. And then you've got a few where you obviously, who knows what time of day it is with Gemma Tutty. Normally I'd look if money's down. I do think Buster Moon's an interesting one, but I think Summer Rain is one of the more interesting ones. And it looks like the price is not shrinking anytime soon. So 425 at Haydog, I've gone for Summer Rain. Really like the look of it. Come on, PJ. So I always think on a Saturday or a Friday, and I might start doing this, get the Racing Post open. Well, I don't mean open because I'm going to say click in a minute. So I mean the online version. Go to Ruth Carr, click on Ruth Carr, and see what runners she's got, and have they been off very, very, very much higher marks in the past. If they're on lower marks, and you can give them a sneak, get on. So touch wood. She's got 2 in the race. This horse is very well handicapped. Well, they're both well handicapped that she's got in this race, but one of them is second or third favourite. This one is the outside the lot. Can't ignore it. It's 25-1. It's Ruth Carr. She don't care what price they are. The bigger, the better. So then finally, the football bet. So, and now can everybody switching off. So it's a £7 double. £7 over 2.5 goals double. I only go for two matches now. I'm going for the Wolves versus Leicester. Like, come on, Charlie. There's nothing at stake. I know. They might take the handbrake off now, scared of losing. So you might see plenty of goals. You might see Jamie Vardy pop a couple in because he's leaving. Wolves might want to climb higher in the table to earn that extra money, extra end of season money. There's neither team. I don't think this will be like a friendly. I just think they'll be able to express themselves, and hopefully there's plenty of goals. I think Wolves are a decent side. And then the other match is over 2.5 goals at 5-6. Walsall versus Accrington. I had Accrington the other day, the other Saturday. I don't know if they played Salford or not, and I expected Salford to beat them. I think Accrington won 3-0. I'm not backing teams to win, but it shows Accrington can score. The last time I looked on the table, the league table, I didn't do it today, but Walsall have scored for fun at times, but they're a very inconsistent team. So I thought, why not? £7 double, over 2.5 goals double. Wolves v Leicester, Walsall versus Accrington, and I've had a £3 over 3.5 goals double, the same matches. So I've put 50 on in total. The over 2.5 goals bet makes £20 back. The over 3.5 goals bet makes £24 back. So if those two come up, which doesn't happen that often, you've nearly got all your money back, and that's even before a single horse. Well, a horse will have run by then, but that's even not taking the horses into consideration. So it's been a long one. So if you're still here, just give me a still here in the comment. No, I'll tell you what, do me a favour. If you could let's have a little bit of a test, and I'm pretty much, there's nobody listening now. I'll be 5 seconds saying this. Put something like amazing content. This really helped me. Something like that. Let's see how the algorithm responds, because I already do videos now. Nobody watches. I see the odd comment on different tipsters. So I like to have a look around once in a while. And I appreciate the decent feedback that people like to listen to the videos. I know half the time I don't know what I'm talking about, and I have to refer back to something else. But I wish the very best of luck. Charlie Winters, come on, over and out. Cheers, mate.